What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Here we are with another reaction video, and in this one we have the truth about Alexander's failed India invasion from Abhijit, Chavda. Now, before we dive into this, if you would like to support the channel by becoming a member, all you gotta do is hit that join button to receive exclusive benefits that I know you guys would enjoy. But without further ado,
This is by
let's get in.
Hardik Bagde. Can you explain about the battle fought between Alexander and Porus, the Battle of Hydaspes? Was King Porus a descendant of the Puru dynasty? Why is there no Indian textual evidence of this? Great question again.
So
So,
is this Alexander the Great we're talking about? I'm going to assume that this is Alexander the Great.
whenever you have a conflict between two sides, between two parties, or two nations, or two cultures, then in order to get a good understanding of what truly happened, it behooves historians to look at what both sides have to say about it.
Okay,
So the
that's what I would
history that
think.
we are taught today is of Alexander's invasion of India. He was a great king. He conquered everything. He came to India and he defeated this great, brave king Porus. And then his soldiers rebelled against him. And they said that we are very tired. We have been away from home for so many years. We want to go back. And so Alexander acquiesced to the demands of his army, and that's why he went back. But he was victorious in India, and he could have gone further ahead if he wished to. So this is the history, this is the narrative that is taught to us, and this is an entirely Greek narrative. This is what the Greek historians have written about
Okay.
Alexander and his supposed conquest of India. The strange thing is that Indian sources from that time are completely silent about Alexander. They do not mention Alexander at all, which is very strange, isn't it? If such a great conqueror came to India's western
True.
doorstep, then how come there is no Indian mention of this great invader, Alexander? And
That's a good question. That's a good question. Yes, I mean, in my 29 years of life, I have come to know that every story has two sides. And don't just listen to the first side you hear. Find both sides of the story before you come to your own conclusion. Uh, but he said India, during that time, nobody wrote about Alexander the Great. And for such a, I guess, huge moment in history, in Indian history, you would think they would have written about it in one way, shape, form, or another, but nothing. That's very suspicious.
this battle of the which is supposed to have happened at the banks of the river Jhelum, this battle happened in Punjab, in the Sapta Sindhu region. And the strange thing is that one of India's greatest universities of all time, Takshashila, also happened to be in Punjab, which is right next door essentially to the site of the battle. And this is one of the greatest universities of all time. You had so many professors of all kinds of different subjects, including current affairs, political science, history, science, and whatnot. So, if such an enormous and momentous battle happened right next door to Takshashila,
Yeah.
how come none of India's scholars recorded this event and wrote some commentary
That's,
or some sort of uh, some sort of record about it? How come
that's
there
a
is no
fair
record
point.
of this battle at all, and how come there is no record of Alexander at all? And how
What you guys think? The Greeks lying? Did this battle never take place? Did Alexander never come to India? Talk to me in the comment section.
come there is no Indian record of this king called Porus? Why is that so? And the strange thing is that after Alexander died, his general Seleucus Nicator became the overall king of the Greeks, and he again tried to invade India, and he entered eventually into an alliance with our emperor Chandragupta Maurya. So Indian records mention Seleucus Nicator extensively, and Seleucus Nicator is the king who comes right after Alexander. So it's just a question of a decade or so, and yet there is no mention of Alexander in Indian sources. So if one were to take this logically, it would indicate that Indian sources and Indian historians and the Indians of that time either did not take any notice of Alexander, or they considered him to be not worthy of writing about, which would essentially tell you that his invasion was no big deal. And it would essentially tell you that this king Porus that he supposed to have defeated must have been a very small king of some western outpost of India's boundary with Persia. I-
Hey, they said if they didn't write about him, then that just goes to tell you he wasn't even worth writing about. And this king that we don't even know about, this king of Porus, he must have been king over some small, tiny region that did not make a difference, I guess, that wasn't worthy enough to be written about.
So the Greeks talk about Porus like he was some great king who had a vast kingdom, but there is no mention of Porus in Indian texts. And so it would indicate that he was a minor king, a minor chieftain of a border outpost of India. So the fact that there is no mention of Alexander or Porus at all in Indian sources would indicate that the story is very different from what the Greeks have told us. And
Oh,
that's the
dang.
story that we learn about in our textbooks worldwide, including in India. So the Russian marshal, the great Russian marshal Zhukov, who was one of Russia's great military strategists, wrote about this. And he said that what really happened was that Alexander probably lost to this minor border chieftain, Porus. And the Greek sources later embellished the story and invented a story of Alexander defeating Porus and being forced back by the actions of his own soldiers. So
Oh,
I wonder why Indian historians have never taken up this angle. They have just blindly imbibed whatever the Greek historians have written about and whatever the Western historians write about. So I think it is time to look at India's history afresh, because the story doesn't quite add up when it comes to Alexander's supposed invasion of India. What I believe happened is that he came to Western India. He tried to invade India. He had this ambition of invading India. He ran into a small border chieftain. And because this guy had elephants and all that, that's why I believe that Alexander suffered a defeat in this skirmish with the Indian king.
y'all got to talk to me in the comment section. Do you believe Mr. Chavda is right on this one? Do you believe he's kind of reaching? What do y'all think? It's hard to know with only Greek side of the story. Without the other side of the story, it's just very hard to know what the truth is.
And we know that his horse died in this battle, and it is most likely that Alexander also got grievously injured in this battle with the Indians, and he had to go back to Babylon where he died. So I think that is what really transpired. We should not believe the Greek sources blindly, because it is well known that Greek sources have been known to embellish and invent history. Herodotus, the father of history, the supposed father of history, is known to have invented fictitious lands and fictitious people, people with three heads and people with three eyes and whatnot. And
All
this is accepted
day.
as history today somehow. So it is time to revisit the history of India and revisit it from our own eyes and our own perspective. So that is what I really believe transpired when it comes to Alexander's supposed invasion of India. I think he suffered a calamitous loss in India, and it eventually led to his death.
I think he may be right in the sense of it's time to look at Indian history with fresh eyes, and it's time to come to our own conclusions. And he said because the math ain't mathing, it ain't adding up, it doesn't make sense. And he's got a good point there. I guess we need to. I need to hear the Greek side of the story, but without, like I said, without the Indian side of the story, it's hard to figure out what the real truth is. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Do you agree with him, or do you think that Alexander did invade India, but just some tiny piece of India that I guess wasn't enough to be worthy of writing about? I don't know. That's all we have. If you enjoyed that, please don't forget to subscribe. Give a video a thumbs up. Check out that next one. I'll see you guys next time.